If you're inclined, this is how you get to it on Amazon.
I'm just getting ready to go. I'm starting live. So if you follow me on social media, or if you don't, you can catch a replay if this inspires you, if you want to go back to it. But before we officially get started with our time together, I'm going to ask each and every one of you to create a sacred space with me. By closing your eyes, I'm going to lead you through a quick embodiment of your higher self, and then we're going to officially begin. So if you will please close your eyes and allow your shoulders to drop away from the ears. And take several natural breaths. Becoming aware of even more of who you are. Your love for you. And in your own way, ask right now to be tuned to your higher self and absorb any information that resonates into you. Be in contact with your low belly. Take a big belly breath. Exhaling any stresses from the morning. Aligning with your highest path forward right now. And you're ready to move. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. My name is clairsenses, and I'm going to be talking to you today about quantum energy, what that is, a little bit of yoga philosophy, and of course, a little bit about my personal story. But before we get into that, I want to know from each and every one of you, how many of you in this room have ever felt that they could heal themselves? Wonderful. That's 100%. Every single one of us has that in common in this room. And when I was a little girl, I'm going to alternate between sitting and standing. When I was a little girl, I was probably similar to you. We go to the doctor and we maybe take a pill, go to physical therapy, we eat right, whatever, what have you. But we may not have learned to incorporate emotional intelligence or effective tools to balance mind, body, and spirit. And I am a living testament of almost dying twice and extreme traumas. And I have learned how to not only effectively heal my own body, but learn tools to help other people. And I have been dedicated to that process for the last decade. So we're going to be also speaking about that. So some of the terms that I'm going to be using for our time today they're yogic terms. That's what makes sense to me. I do have a yogic background, but I'm going to be explaining some definitions as we go along. I want you to know, just so you know how our time is going to be structured today, I'm going to be giving a live demonstration to teach you, everybody in this room, or if you're watching online, how to administer and access healing energy, so that way you can bring that into the body today. And then if we do have time, I would love to give a live demonstration by choosing one or two people in the room that to show that I'm going to access your energy field, do some quantum healing, long distance, and we can talk about it. We can explore this together. And if at any moment, feel free to interrupt. If you have a question, I'm available. There will also be time at the end for questions and answers. So a little bit about my professional background before we get into a little bit of my personal stories, which, just so you know, I'm definitely one of those people who's an open book. You can ask me anything. Since I'm in a space where I don't really judge myself anymore, I'm going to tell you how it is. So if like, as low as we can go, that's as high as we can go when it comes to talking about what is real, what we experience in our life, and what that means when it pertains to how we hold on to our traumas and how that can be embedded in our physical, emotional, and mental bodies. So a registered holistic practitioner. I am a vaginal steam therapist, and what that means is I work with women and I teach them how to work with sacred herbs that which will help the womb essentially heal, so that way they can have a better connection to their body, more circulation, as well as spiritual emotional release. I am a yoga and yin yoga teacher. I have not been teaching classes for the last 2 years because I've had children, and then I lost my ability to walk, in which I will be speaking about later. As you can see today, I'm walking. So I will be teaching here in about 8 weeks locally. I was a registered massage therapist. However, that does not resonate with me right now anymore, as I am growing as an individual, so that way I can hold and teach more for my true calling in my life. I have been teaching Usui and Seiki Reiki for the last 10 years, and I teach locally and online, and if you are interested in Reiki courses, or if you yourself are a Reiki practitioner, I have schools for you wherever you are at, if that is of interest to you. I'm psychic as well, and we're going to be talking about what that means and what that means to me, because when you hear the word psychic, where does your mind go? You might think of, oh, she sees dead people, or can you talk to my loved one in the spirit world? But to me, that means maybe something a little bit different. I use my gifts for healing and healing only, and I have made that declaration with how I work with myself and other people. And I actually started my healing practice as a crystal and sound healer. The tools that I used intuitively was the didgeridoo and singing bowls, and then I gravitated towards tuning forks as I was able to see energy from the time I was about 15, 16 years old. And I also facilitate sacred spaces for women, sisterhood, cultivating sisterhood, so that way we can heal together. So that's a little bit of my professional background, and this year I also founded Womb Code Limited, which is a spiritual product-based business that donates a percentage to TSADA. So if you are in Pueblo, Colorado, TSADA works with helping homeless veterans, youth, and families get off the streets and into safe housing, and that's a passion of mine because I used to be there, which I will be talking about later again. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the word samyama, and it means holding together, tying up, binding, or integration. So when people ask me, how do you do these things, or how have you healed yourself, or what is your practice, I go back to integration. Integrating the higher aspects of the self, or what we can think is possible, and then exploring that avenue, whatever it may be. So it may show up just what we're doing right now. We may spark a curiosity, and then we'll follow it. For me, it started with pain. Multiple, so my healing journey, I'm going to just talk a little bit about that. My healing journey started with pain. I'm sure, like everybody in this room, we've experienced some sort of pain. For myself, as a child, not only was I gifted, meaning I was an empath. I didn't know I was an empath. And I would easily absorb everybody's emotions and internalize it. I didn't know what to do with it. And I had to learn the hard way and essentially be my own teacher to a degree in order to cultivate a deep understanding and a sense of self. So samyana to me it's a yogic word, and it means all that as Michelle. And just so you know, I do have a slideshow. If you want it, I will give it to you. Samyama.
Because that comes down.
So
If you wanted to do a slideshow, it's easy enough to hook up your computer and that thing comes down. And the projector is right there.
oh, it's okay, because I'm going to be drawing and working with colors too, and anyhow. Thank you, though. But I'll give you guys this slideshow if you'd like later. So one yoga sutra that I would like to touch on that means a lot to me. So if you are interested, you can utilize the book, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, as a tool. And I like the third chapter because it talks about mysticism. So by directing Yoga Sutra 3.25, by directing the light of cognition, one obtains knowledge of subtle, concealed, and remote things. By directing the light of cognition, one obtains knowledge of subtle, concealed, and remote things. So, from an energy worker's perspective, from a psychic healer's perspective, and with someone, I've worked with hundreds of people for the last decade around the world now. When I go back to this Yoga Sutra, it remains true for me, because when I have seen the process of healing by my own hands and in groups and facilitating such a space, it goes back to the mind or these mental programs or these belief systems, essentially, such as Michelle said earlier, that we're not living ourselves. We are not integrating the fullness or the wholeness of that love as a frequency rather than a cognitive understanding. So some of the results that when we apply this, which is going to take it a little bit deeper for you, is that we can have a perception change. We can dissolve obstacles, and we can evolve psychically. We can evolve as a healer. We can evolve to our fullest potential. And our senses, when we allow ourselves to evolve, they heighten. So I was not always psychic. I had gifts as a child, but I didn't know what to do with them. It's been a dedication every single day, and I'm going to be sharing with you later some techniques on how you can also strengthen your gifts. So, does anybody in here right now have any questions? Okay. There are 8 clairsenses that I would like to define for you today. And the reason why I want you to have this understanding before I begin talking about my personal healing journey, where I've been and how I've healed myself, is because I want you to have that foundation if you're not familiar with some of these senses and what you are also capable of. So there are 8. The first, and just so you know, mine are activated, and this is one way that I do work with my students. First is going to be clairvoyance. So that is the ability to speak. So if you ever heard of, has anybody in this room ever heard of the term aura or aura field? Okay, and you yourself, you might be able to see auras or feel or have a basic understanding as well. that is going to be your clairvoyance. It's the ability to see, you, usually through your third eye space, or if you develop, you can start actually seeing or becoming aware through your entire energy field, okay? So this can look like vivid dreams, mental images might come to you, flashes of color, and you might be able to see auras or even have see angels, celestial beings, or spirits. That happens. So that is going to be coming from your brow chakra, your third eye, your upper chakra system. If you're not familiar with the chakra system, just in short, we have a seven main chakras in our energy field. We do expand beyond that. However, the seven main are what are most talked about, and we develop through. We can develop and expand through those energy centers. So your clairvoyance is going to be opening through the third eye. So also with clairvoyance, a person may be able to have precognition, so you might be able to see the future or clarify or illuminate the present moment for a person. That's why people at times when they're seeking guidance and maybe they don't want to go to a therapist, they want more of a spiritual experience, they might outsource and go to a psychic, such as myself or somebody else in their local community. So next is going to be claircognizance, clear knowing. When you suddenly know something, has that ever happened to anybody? Just like, I know this, I don't know why I know this. That is going to be clear knowing. And it's just something that you feel you're attuned to. And this can also show up as like a nagging idea, like do this, or your intuition be really heightened around one area of your life. That's going to be something that you trust. So that's your claircognizance, and you can also fine tune it as well. Next is going to be clairaudience, and just so you guys know what I'm doing here, apparently there's a really weak signal in this room, so I'm just revamping and seeing if it works. So clairaudience is hearing. And again, with myself, one common question that I get with people is, I want to be able to hear. I want to hear my guides, or I want to hear my higher self. That's called clairaudience, and most people think that it's going to manifest in such a way where we're hearing like this, but it can also be a telepathic message. And yes, I am talking about hearing messages in your head, but it's really not that far-fetched. We all do it to some degree. We talk to ourselves, right? So we're practicing that, but we do have the availability, if we allow ourselves to get to slow our brain function. What I've learned in my past, we can tune to higher dimensions. So everybody in this room has that capability. It's just a matter of practice, which why, again, I'm weaving in a little bit of the practice of yoga and why that's important to develop some of these skills, to be an energy healer and explore your gifts. So some of the ways that clairaudience might show up for you is you might just know when someone's lying. You might hear the truth between words. You might be driving one way to work and you might hear how, no, don't go that way, and you take an alternate route, and you find out later maybe there was an accident. That's a pretty clear way that we can notice and then practice clairaudience. Next is going to be clairempathy. Now this is what, as a child, now looking back, I learned that was probably my strongest gift. And those of you in this room who are also empaths, you're probably also gifted in this way. This is where you can sense other people's emotions, their thoughts, their symptoms in their own body, Has anybody ever experienced, you know, you walk into a room or you're around someone and maybe you soak up their headache, or they're sick and then you feel sick? That's your clairempathy. And one thing that we need to be able to learn and are techniques on how to restrain from absorbing other people's energy. So it's real. Just know that you're not alone. It's called clairempathy. So it's a little bit deeper than being an empath. And usually you can also feel the emotion in the room, and actually you can absorb it into your own body as well, which I used to do that a lot. Clairsentience, did you have a question?
Yes, when you absorb that, does it provide any relief?
It can. It can. Usually those of us who have a maternal instinct, or we're just natural empaths, natural healers, we want people to feel better. We're going to subconsciously, oh, I want you to feel better. And you might take it on as your own. So, yeah, that happens a lot. Next is clairsentience. It's very similar to clairempathy, but it's clear physical feeling. So this is where you have the ability to intuitively have the same physical feeling as that other person. So I remember when I was a kid, my brother had an injury and I felt it in my body. Has it ever happened? Or it's just really, really interesting. And that's why I'm going to soon talk a little bit later about quantum energy, because if we're open, energy field's they're going to collide. Yes?
Could you spell that? I'm not familiar. That's why I'm
Yes,
not familiar.
clairsentience, CLAIRSENTIENCE.
Okay.
And if I'm speaking too fast, please let me know. I will slow down. So this can be used to your advantage, and I want you to know why. If you can feel other people's emotions and also their physical ailments, you are going to be able to identify your weak spot emotionally in your own path, and you're also going to be able to push out and expand your auric field, and you're going to be able to raise that vibration for yourself and that other person. So I want you to be aware of that. Next is clear touching. And this is very interesting, and this is actually a clairsense that I became aware of this year. So I'm probably going to butcher the word clairtangency, CLAIRTANGENCY. Now, I didn't know that this was a thing, and I'm going to tell you a couple stories. Before I started my professional practice as a massage therapist, I would be able to touch people and see their memories. It was a trippy thing. It was like a movie strip would come down and I would just see events, and that's a tool that I use with my clients today. But it used to actually save me because I was in some situations where I would be working on a client and I would see some of the, again, no judgment, but see some things that I didn't necessarily want to be around or have that person in my life. And we have the ability to develop a skill to touch another person and see their memories, which I'm going to be talking about the astral plane and the causal plane, and why being a multidimensional being, why we can tap into that. So it is a part of your clairsenses, and it's a very interesting gift. So, and you can also do this with an item. If someone gives you a gift, you might be able to touch it and have a really good sense of where that item has been and the emotions surrounding it. Okay, thanks for being out there with me today, you guys.
Kira,
Yeah.
which page are you streaming?
I'm streaming my business page, which is Kira K King / womb code.
So if I refer people.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so next is going to be smell, clear smelling, clairsalience. This is where, and I'm not as strong in this area. It does come through sometimes, but I've met amazing people who have been able to walk into a room and they just pick up smells, and like fragrances or odors. And usually this is like clairsentience, using other gifts to support, or other clair gifts to support another clair gift is really what I'm saying here. So you can use clear smelling. I just want you to be aware that if you ever walk into a room and then all of a sudden you smell something, just know that that's a part of your clair gifts. All right. So before those are the clair gifts. Does anybody have any questions? Cool. I'm going to move on. So,
Kira, I
yeah.
actually do. I only have 6 written down. I missed one. Clairvoyant, claircognizance, clairaudience, clairempathy, clairsentience, clairtangency.
Clairtangency, clairsalience.
Salience?
Yes. Oh, I apologize. I missed the slide. Clairgustance.
That's
Tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where you can receive psychic information through your sense of taste. Thank you.
And how do you spell it?
CLAIR. GUSTANCE. So again, you could have this actually, I want to touch base real quick. When I teach the Reiki Masterclass, I'll teach you how to charge Reiki water, and you will have a metallic taste in your mouth, and that's when you know it's done. So that's that gift being activated, and that's one example that I can share with you right now. So, psychic. The root word, it's psychikos or psychiko. It's Greek, and the meaning is soul and psyche. Our soul and our psyche. And it refers to the ability to perceive things most people do not through the 5 senses.
Doesn't mean you use it as 5 senses. All of those things together.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I fully feel sometimes, in one way that I work with my students as well, is you want to use your 5 senses in order to perceive more, because we know life through our 5.
It's like a reader.
Exactly. So it can be seen as something as immaterial or of spiritual nature. Psychic and other intuitive readings, they can bring advice, like we identified, guidance and clarity to the person receiving your reading. Or if you are a psychic as well and you have these gifts as well, you can essentially channel or bring in information for yourself. My preference is just straight to the source and connecting with my higher self. That's my preference. However, there are psychics and people all over the world who may work with others, like other energy out there, other foreign energy. So psychic healing is what I do. And that has how I've healed myself. So it's the ability to use and absorb all of the information going on, and then having the awareness to see, okay, this is a block, or this is a trauma, or this is a stagnant energy, and then the ability to lift or transcend that space. So that does affect the quantum field. So the quantum field is, I feel it's kind of new that we're globally exploring what this means, but it means that it's the energy that can pass through at the molecular level, okay? And because we are energy, all of us, we have access to liberation, essentially, to well-being, to mobility, whether that's emotional, spiritual, mental, whatever, what have you. So the psychic energy work that I do and others in the world, I'm going to explain this from a yogic perspective because that's the best lens that I can use for you. So samskara, I'm going to write this word. Okay, I wrote 3 words. So I wrote down samskara, chitta, and atman. Samskara, the definition is subliminal impressions. And habits that we have acquired in our life. Chitta is conditioned consciousness. It's our mind. And the Atman is your soul. So essentially mind, body, soul, or the energy that makes up who and what we are. So samskara, I like to think of that we have these blueprints. We have all of these layers energetically, and I'm somebody that sees these these layers, and they hold memory, they hold emotional and mental blocks or stagnation, if you will, that influence our mind or our direction in life. Also, to this influences our cellular memory. Okay. Now, your mind can shift, which is why the practice of yoga, meditation, and other techniques that you can learn from Michelle or myself or other people in our community or who you gravitate towards is going to be able to help you to shift your mind to realize your power within, essentially. Next is Atman, your soul. You're here to evolve. We are here to evolve. We are here to realize our potential and our power. Energetically speaking.
Say that louder. Say that with some more.
Yes, yes. That's what we're here for. I truly believe that. When I get into some of my personal history, again, it's pretty extreme. But again, yeah, last year, I could not walk, and I was probably on week 6 of like deep meditation trying to restore my body. So I want you to know that if you also suffer from chronic pain or you have any sort of disease in your body, take up some of the techniques that I'm going to be teaching you today, because you have the ability to restore yourself, mind, body, soul. We are capable. So we can resolve unhealed trauma. So I do want to read a couple of testimonials, and maybe, well, let me know if you want me to get into the full description. It's on my computer, but I brought up the 3 most profound testimonials with people that I've worked with this year. One woman in one session, she did not have a menstrual cycle. In one session, she got her menstrual cycle back. This is a woman in Texas. We're working like through a screen, okay? Another woman, she had lost her she didn't have hearing for 10 years. We had one session, her hearing was restored. Another one over here, and when you receive the slide, I'll share this with you. This woman, she had tendonitis in her elbow. She was going to physical therapy. Nothing would help her. I was actually doing a free online event, which I'll occasionally do via Facebook. She tapped in. I called her. I went straight to her elbow, and her pain was gone. It's tremendous. It's just a matter of developing what's already inside and acknowledging that you're whole. But that our mind can get in the way. Anyhow, I did want to share this because these are some of the more profound physiological shifts that people have had in their body this year. So thank you for listening to that. I just thought it was just amazing. You know what, and I want to reemphasize right now, like it's not about me. It's about what we are capable of when we commit to learning, to learning from ourselves and evolving. So I want to share real quick how I have learned to help people beyond my training. Because no one taught me how to be psychic. No one taught me how to see energy. I truly and fully believe that each and every one of us has a special connection with the divine, God, universe, source, whatever, what have you, that's built inside of us. We can ask a question, we receive that guidance. Again, I use my gifts for healing. That's just my heart and what I love to do, and how I like to work with people, because to some degree, we are all reaching for the light, if you will, and restoring and replenishing and resourcing ourselves every single day. So I have learned to develop the clairsenses by myself, which I'm not going to lie, it was very challenging and confusing, and for a long time I thought it was crazy. So I will also act as a translator of timelines in people's lives so that they can avoid negative situations, because that does come up. The ego will want to steer us in that way, but if we're not aligned or refusing to listen to our intuition, we may find ourselves in a cycle, right? I go through cycles. I'm sure I'm not the only one. What am I trying to learn here? Help navigate relationships. So seeing the energy in romantic relationships, family relationships, and helping people to really get true with themselves and honest with themselves. And sometimes bad, negative influences, such as bad spirits or even demonic presence. I don't really like to go that route, but I'm not going to lie, that stuff exists. I've seen it. It's been extreme. It's a little bit taboo to speak about sometimes, but I'm going to talk about it. So I'll go into a house, and actually, like when I was little, that's more of the experiences that I would have. And usually when working with people, people are afraid to open up energetically because they're afraid of what they may see, or these bad associations that, oh, if I open up my abilities, I'm going to see demons and attract all this negative stuff, which, no. I'm not saying it's not real, it's not there. However, again, you're fully capable of raising your vibration anywhere you are, and having boundaries. It's the same thing. You're going to have spiritual boundaries just as you would with the person next to you, in front of you, in your household. And I learn every single month about higher awareness and how to access these energy fields. Okay. I think before I go into an overview of the planes, I'm going to tell you about where I was last year. So I am a mother. I have 3 beautiful children. And during my last pregnancy, I somehow developed spinal stenosis, a spinal cord compression, 7 mm spinal cord compression, as well as 6, herniated discs. And for the longest time, I didn't know what was going on with me. Not only that, my lymph system after my child completely shut down. I was swelled up. I'm like barely starting to drain like this week actually. But I was literally like walking kind of like this for 6 months. And then finally, and I was ignoring. I was, oh, I need to go to the gym. I need to strengthen. But I was so inflamed, so ungodly inflamed. You couldn't touch me. Like, you could not touch my tissues barely without me screaming. My nervous system was on overload. I ended up in the emergency room because my nervous system, like, I was just shutting down. New baby, stay-at-home mom. I was not taking clients at the time because I was recovering and holding a lot of water as well. And I remember I had gotten a cortisol shot in my my SI joints. And that helped me to start get going. And my doctor put me into physical therapy, and it did not do anything. It actually made me worse. So then I started walking with a cane. And what really started to help me was I had to get real with myself, because I had worked with hundreds of people so far, and I had learned through experience that we are unhealed emotions and beliefs can manifest into the body. And so I chose to get really, really real with me. And it caused me to apply all of my tools. And that came down to, I couldn't practice yoga. Now I do, meaning the physical postures. Now I can, but at that time I could not. So I went to the basics, which is your breath. So in 2 months, I literally could only sit in a recliner. Sitting like this would have been, there's no way. And sometimes I still sit and my leg will go numb. But sitting like this, it was just excruciating. You would have seen me just crying, just holding it in. So for 8 weeks, I sat in a recliner and I practiced abdominal breathing. And then I gravitated to working with visualization, which I still do every single day for myself. Visualization, and increased my pranayama practice, because if I would breathe too fast, it would hurt my diaphragm. It would cause more pain, and I did not want to cause more pain, inflict more pain on myself. Then I began to go to visit some local sound healers. If you are interested, I will give you their information, or I'm going to give you their information anyway. They're great. Emily Pomerleau and Travis Cleveland, they are local gong sound healers. I went to them, and each session, my inflammation from my back would just diminish. And, the power of intention is huge. And I would go back to my doctor, and he would ask, what are you doing? And I also started seeing a chiropractor as well. And he would ask, what are you doing? I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. And I'm using these tools because, I thought if physical therapy can't work, and I was prescribed, medication, and I did not want to be on medication, and I'm a very stubborn person, and I committed, I am going to heal myself. I'm excited to see what my MRI is going to look like in another year. Who knows? I don't really go, who knows? I know. It's going to look different. But I believe in these practices because I can walk. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was filing for disability last year. And I just chose, no, I'm going to apply what I know. Yeah. So that's one recovery. That's one turnaround. In 2014, I almost died because I wasn't being true to myself. I was in a relationship I didn't want to be in. And my organs just started shutting down, spontaneously started shutting down. And I had to have emergency surgery. And I had an out-of-body experience. And what I learned was a gift of self-love. And that in itself can be a hard pill to swallow. So that was another extreme experience that I had where I learned I can't operate like this anymore. I can't operate like this anymore. I have to really commit. We have to commit to these tools, Atman, our soul, shifting our mind and our belief system, integrating what we know to be true within ourselves, devoting our path and it being sacred between you and your connection to source. It shows up differently for everybody. So being a psychic energy healer, these are some of my lenses and what I have learned on my path. I'm going to tell you one more story about me. I told you that, I'm going to tell you more later, but I told you that a lot of my path started with pain. I had a supernatural experience when I was 14 that rapidly opened up my gifts. I was alone at a church camp. I was destined to be a youth pastor. I was heavily conditioned by fundamental Christians. No judgment, it's just where I was at the time. And this is when everything started for me. I had an experience, and then I'm going to start talking about being multidimensional in some of the planes of our existence as multidimensional beings. When I was 14 years old, I was at a church camp, and we were calling on the Holy Spirit, asking to speak in tongues. And I was usually that person. I was up there at the altar, let's do this, let's save people. And I had this feeling that I needed to draw back. Like really, really needed to draw back. So I went to the back of the church. And there's this energy that hits my third eye, or my forehead at the time. And I start speaking in different languages, and then I start writing in different languages, and then I start seeing, I just start seeing celestial beings. I start seeing colors that are indescribable on earth. I was in a state of absolute bliss. I kind of relate it to when I had an out-of-body experience, because it was just like this state of love, and there was no time in a way. And this lasted for about, again, like 13 hours. And then I remember my youth pastor and some of my friends at the time, they moved my body, they moved me, tried to do an exorcism, told me that I was possessed. They couldn't shut me up. But that's when I started to have visions and premonitions, and I started a year later. I had natural healing abilities. It was a beautiful experience. I go back to that. So I want you guys to know, if you've ever had an experience like that, that was my spiritual awakening. That's when it all started for me. But it was very extreme, but in a way, it helped me, and it still serves me, because I also learned that there are other people who have had similar experiences, and that what they are experiencing is not weird. It's just, we've always had an infinite connection to source, or to be able to bring down more information. This is what shamans do. Somebody in here might also be a shamanic practitioner. This is how we learn. We learn from cosmic energy. We learn from the earth. This is how we are created. Anyhow, so with that, we're multidimensional beings. And this being a multidimensional being and having that awareness is what I have used to heal myself. So I'll actually envision myself behind myself and I'll do energy work. Like I'll jump in my astral body and I will work on my physical body. It's crazy stuff, but it works. So we have the Akashic plane. So if you've ever heard about the Akashic records or the Akashic plane, your 6th and 7th chakras, the brow chakra and the crown chakra, is what is going to connect you to the Akashic plane. And what this means, it's the plane of universal memory. So memory, your soul has experience. Your soul has more experience than we can even fathom sometimes. And there's a memory field out there in space. Akasha in Sanskrit means space or ether. Okay? Next is going to be the causal plane, and this is my specialty. The causal plane is memory, soul patterns, karmatic patterns, which is samskara. So that's where some of you guys might have heard or be interested in past lives, or is this coming from a past life, or I want to heal, I want to know this. It's coming from the causal plane. Okay? So they kind of overlap, the Akashic plane and causal plane. Next is the causal. Yeah. Next is the etheric plane. And this is our space or a seat of intuition within. And really, this is kind of that last barrier between the sense of ego or the sense of I or beingness as an individual and oneness, unity consciousness. Okay, that's where the etheric plane really allows the self to explore, experience, and if we allow ourselves, integrate such thoughts or create connections of unity consciousness within oneself, within ourself, and within our community. Next is our mental plane. This is going to be your individual human consciousness, your ego, philosophies, and mental teachings. And absolutely, belief systems. We can take it a step further, your subconscious mind. So when I'm doing energy work, I'm working between all these planes. When I teach Reiki. That is not this. I want to make that distinction. So healing modalities, they might cross over. They're all kind of, they're interwoven to bring a sense of well-being and healing and regeneration to the body, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. The astral plane is going to be psychic phenomenon. This is where you have your clairsenses are activated, the angelic realm, spirits, and time-space navigation. So an example of that is manifestation, law of attraction, if any of you are familiar with that. Okay, you're working in the astral plane. Last, the physical plane, I think you're all familiar with that, your senses, your 5 senses. This is actually where we are working through attachment. Right, attachment. I was attached to my pain. We can choose to attach to pain. For me, and my story, it's mostly been emotional pain that manifested into the body. Does anybody have any questions?
When you explain the layers there, is that exactly how the bodies move out from us? So we've got physical, then the astral, then the mental, then the etheric, then the cultural.
No. I wasn't prepared for that. I do teach a class on the chakras in the auric field and how you can read your own chakras in the auric field. But our layers in our auric field and our chakra system are direct links to these planes. They are overlapping. They are communicating with one another, and sometimes they're not. And when they're not, that's when our mind, we can really have a sense of separateness. Okay? And usually people are really operating, we're operating through our five senses, and we're trying to heal ourselves, right? We're trying to become better people, we're trying to evolve, we're trying to heal. But it takes, what I've learned, embracing the full components of being multidimensional and discovering what that means to you, and being curious and allowing yourself to make your own breakthroughs. And usually that's going to be what I found is a mental and emotional breakthrough for you to realize your spiritual expansion or your capabilities, and then that's going to trickle down into the physical, or the physical body can stimulate and activate dormant consciousness or dormant or sluggish energy in the body, which essentially is consciousness. And that's definitely what I have learned within 1 year. Okay, for example, some of my lessons in my back was feeling unsupported. And that came from multiple sexual traumas. It came from being homeless. I've been homeless twice. I was not a drug addict. I just had really bad luck. And, well, I chose my path, right? I did. So I take full responsibility for that. But I did learn a lot. And then all of this energy was stored in my back, and believing that I was not supported. And especially being a mother and a stay-at-home mother with children, and not feeling like I could express myself fully, whatever that was at the time, and all of that from my inner child. I mean, really, about 20 years was stored in my spine. So I had to work really, really deep. And I promise, if you start noticing where you're holding discomfort in your body, and ask your body, what's being stored here, or what am I reliving? What part of my past am I reliving silently? That's going to be your access right there for liberation. And that's exactly what I did. And I used my breath at first, and then other tools, such as sound healing and holistic practices. So I want to reemphasize, we are capable. We are capable. We are powerful beings, especially when we take our spirituality and merge it with our mind, the power of our mind, and allow ourselves the gift of emotional freedom, because it's emotional freedom that we're seeking. That's what I've learned as well. I want to be free from these emotions. I don't want to feel like this anymore. It's a transference of energy, of higher consciousness, into allowing these parts or aspects of ourselves that, hey, you're not here anymore. Look, you are supported. Look, there's a higher perspective. And then it's a choice. And that is the power that I want all of us, myself included, to gravitate towards, is the power of choice and allowing God's source, the universe, to show up for you in your body and then in your external experience. So we have about 40 minutes-ish.
Yeah, we want to wrap up by 11,
Okay.
and hopefully we'll have just a little bit of time for people to dig in and ask them these questions.
Yeah, so how about this? This is what I have planned. I would love to do some group work where you can access energy healing yourself. And then I would love to do some live demonstrations if anybody wants to be a guinea pig. But let's start with some questions before we get into that. Okay. And no judgment, nothing's weird.
All questions are good questions.
Yes, let's learn from one another. Yes. Oh, there are a variety of ways to stimulate energy. So what I usually go to when I get this question, I'm always going to go back to the breath. Using breath work as a tool, conscious breath work. Okay. Moving your body, movement, such as yoga, qigong, tai chi, hiking, biking. But if you were like me, where you couldn't walk, or you had to rehabilitate yourself, the breath was the access. And that's the constant as well. So generating heat in the body. Any way that you can generate heat or fire is going to be that element or source for dynamic change. So what does that mean to you? Is it going to be biking? Is it going to be deepening your practice of yoga? It shows up whatever is good for you. However you can ignite more breath or consciousness or fire in your body. Yes.
Do you have any attachments to fear related to change? Comments about feeling fear?
Yeah. Every time I personally go through a breakthrough, I'm afraid it's going to happen again. I'm afraid whatever I release is going to happen again. That's what comes up in my body. That's what's true for me. I get afraid that if I release this, what's the point in releasing this if it's going to happen again? But that's our nervous system. That's what our nervous system is designed for. It holds a pattern. So we can break that pattern. Yeah.
You talked earlier about using emotional intelligence inside.
Yes. So to me, emotional intelligence is being aware of people's emotions around you and also yourself. So sometimes, those of us who are empaths, we might feel too much and neglect the self, or we might just be so self-centered that we're not thinking or empathizing with other people. So cultivating emotional intelligence, again, Curology here, is really identifying where you are, where are you in this present moment with yourself and the people you are relating to. And instead of judging how other people are relating to you, how can you reach a common ground to be solution-oriented to reach a common goal? Does that help? So just really being mindful, but also, again, if you're an empath, using your skill set as an empath, feeling other people's feelings, and also acknowledging your own and what's true for you. And if you feel what other people are feeling, you might have a sense of what's really kind of, what's being said without being spoken, if that makes sense. I do have a couple. Some of them are on my website, and sometimes I give free tools away online. If you reach out to me via social media, I do have some journaling prompts, and what I always go back to as far as problem solving is this more with regarding relationships or with yourself? Okay, yes. So I do have some journal prompts that would help explore yourself and identifying what you feel, right? Sometimes we don't even know what we feel. We just, yeah. Actually, I'll put my name right here. I am on Facebook and Instagram. And my website is thecurek2.com. Oh yeah, that's a story. Technology, yeah. Kelly.
Is there also like, things like an extra task, or we're not being responsible for emergency, system on other development systems? How is that,
So what I'm hearing you say, the question is, if I do not acknowledge and take responsibility for my emotions, will that energy be projected onto another person? Yes. Yeah. And okay, think about when you had an argument with someone. It's a prime example. Or we can shove our emotions down. We want to be the nice guy. We want to keep the peace. We don't want to be the instigator. We don't want to speak our truth because of a reaction from another person. But then it boils and boils and boils as energy, right? It's going to boil until you snap at another person, or maybe you just go inward to where you're not feeling anymore and you're just pushing everybody away. Yes.
So how can we use these kids as a way
So conscious parenting, being a mother and conscious parenting, I feel it is going to be one, identifying what you feel and making your children feel safe to express themselves fully. Because I think about the inner child within. Are you afraid to talk to your mom or dad? Are you afraid to tell the truth? Your child probably feels the same way. So make it safe. Yeah.
or suffer, and I think
Mm-hmm. So there's two questions going on. Is it absorbing energy and not wanting to absorb energy and then your own fear? Yeah. Okay. Now I can't speak to your own fear because we all have a different process. We're all headed in the same direction. We all have a timeline. However, when it comes to absorbing other people's fears, and if you're in that space of death and essentially helping people cross over, you're kind of at the forefront of that plane, where there's a lot of emotional release. I know when I've helped when I've been there, when my family members have died, and I'm seeing their energy and also helping them cross over, they're kind of unwinding the fear of losing their life. That's the last fear. And I'll speak to this from more of a yogic perspective. It's about surrender, about offering it up, about attachment. But right now, having the hyper awareness that you exist beyond the body, and at some level, right now, you're there and you're here and you're safe.
I think it may also have to do with the belief system that each of us have developed about what death is. And the big fear that but another's crossed over. And one of the most compelling aspects of that whole event is helping them to drop the fear of crossing over, because literally it's like walking through a veil or through a curtain. It's not the traumatic event that society has led us to believe, that the instant you pass through that veil, because I feel like I've been coaching up for 2 years, it's like falling asleep. I don't know if you're falling asleep. When you fall asleep, any negative momentum that you had going throughout the day, immediately gone. What we refer to as death in the transition is much like falling asleep, only you're much more cognitive and awake and attuned to the peace and your existence. It is the vibrational resonance is beyond description. So beginning to change one's belief system about what death is, that's the first step, I think, in eliminating fear. You can eliminate the fear ahead and not fear death. A lot of that anxiety will melt.
Can I add to that? Yeah. I really feel it's about what you're identifying or how you're identifying, because when I identify as a human, like that's my end all, fear is everywhere. But if I know, spiritual being connected to God, I'm eternal, this isn't death, it is just a process, there is no fear. And the other thing you said to me is like welcoming. I remember when I had my first baby, nobody taught me anything, I knew nothing, it was painful, it was weird. And then the second time I thought, I got to figure this out. I got to know more. And what came to me was accepting the pain, knowing that it is an opening of the cervix, even though it's painful. It's like a flower blossoming to allow me birth into this world. And that made my second birth so amazingly easy. I thought, why wasn't I taught this? Why isn't every woman taught this? And to me it is that the acceptance, and you can identify that you're an unlimited eternal being. And there is no real death to it. And it's just a different experience. Your story about childhood is not a story too. Okay. However, happened to be honestly with comparison to the health what process is process, the aging process, and I'm considered a senior now, and it's getting old and the process. Not like you had mentioned that, our bones are things, and I'm doing hiking and I'm doing things because my body's getting and I'm having mobility, the yoga, and you take it move, and that's my fear. It's not limited, not good. And we're going to have to do a workshop on my fear is the progression, not the death. Death is peaceful. Once you get through the acceptance, but it's through the process of getting there and the pains and the non-acceptance and all of the things that you get to that point. So, it's my thinking, you don't have to go through that. Let's make up our mind what we want, have an intention, and we're moving into that. But we need tools, and we need to overcome that fear and understand I do have that power. And that's why we have people like Kira and Jocelyn and so many of us who are supporting that. So I encourage you to move into it. And what do you have to say to respond to that,
To fear?
to overcoming?
To overcoming fear, thank you. It's interesting because I did do a video the other day via social media about courage and fear and allowing the two to walk together. And courage stems from the heart, and how every single day, when it comes to pain, I understand. I understand the chronic pain in my own way, but adopting and allowing yourself to be resilient as well, and focus. Mental focus is so powerful. It's not necessarily pretending that, this isn't going on. It's actually acknowledging, I'm afraid. I have this belief system, and bringing it, I feel that when you acknowledge your fear and vocalize it, you take away its power over and over and over. So keep on bringing it, making it conscious, bringing it to the forefront, and make it, take a charge of it. Does that make sense? Acknowledge where you're at, bring the fear to the focal point, simultaneously acknowledging, okay, I can do this, whatever it is. I'm afraid to have a conversation. I'm afraid that if I do this activity, I'm going to hurt myself. And, it can be, we can be immobilized, we can be paralyzed by fear. So that's what it's.
I think, like, for me, I was involved in like the things with you with food and all that, and I think fear, it brings up things that have sense of a purpose, like how we use in life that has helped us in that moment. And if we take that fear or that worry and say, okay, what is my body, like, what is the map that I have, the belief in my mind, trying to tell me right now? And maybe that doesn't serve you any purpose anymore, so then you have to say, this is coming up, I acknowledge you, thank you, but I don't need it anymore. What's that doesn't serve me a purpose? Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about acknowledging you, what about identifying?
Sure. So I like how you say that, because that does come down to, or in my perspective, our identity. Identifying, meaning I identify this is who I am with this fear. I identify this is who I am without this fear. What are we going to choose? What are we going to fuel? Is that so? Awareness versus identifying. I'm aware that there's a clock in the room. I also identify that I am Kira, noticing the clock on the room. But when we leave, we're going to leave that awareness in the room. Does that make sense?
Or are you asking why you have that fear? I'm asking why identifying what the fear is.
Oh.
Where you start to identify.
Oh, okay. That's completely different. Thank you. So where do you begin to identify where the fear is? I use my body. I use the connection between the mind and body. So, and actually we're going to practice that. So, we do have probably time for a short practice with both if we start right now. But in short, how I identify fear is first through pain. Where am I holding pain and tension in the body? What can I sense or intuitively feel emotionally? I'm storing, or again, like I spoke earlier, what is that thing that just kind of keeps on coming up? And then what am I actually, is there a fear? Or, what is the situation? Because sometimes we can just muscle through and get through life without acknowledging and really kind of diving into our essence. So I uncover like, oh my gosh, really? Is that really still going on? Or I had no idea that I was still operating in this way. I find it through the body because our body is our vessel of consciousness, many streams of consciousness of our being. That's how I figure this out personally. Or journaling is also a good tool. Just letting free writing. That's also one way that I work with people. But depending on what's going on. So without further ado, would you like to practice? All right. So again, if you will, we're going to start a little bit of energy work. If you do not experience this like everybody else in the room, it doesn't mean that it's not working. I just want to make that clear right now. Everybody has different feelers. We're all sensitive to a different degree. So if you will sit down, uncross your legs with your hands, palms up on your lap, please. Going to close your eyes and allow yourself to go inward. Taking a breath to the belly. Becoming aware of the subtle energy that is running through your vessel. Notice the subtle pulse in your fingertips. Your chest. Taking your awareness now about 3 feet above your head. You're going to come in contact with a ball of light. Coming in contact with a ball of light 3 feet above your head. Visualize this ball of light gravitating towards your crown chakra. This ball of light is filled with nourishing energy, life-giving energy. And pull this ball of light through the crown chakra, through the back of the left and right eye. Allowing it to travel behind the throat, through the throat. This ball of light is gravitating into the heart. Breathe through your heart space. Allow the ball of light in your heart space to grow stronger, brighter, bigger. Now, split that one ball of light into 2 balls, one gravitating towards the left shoulder, the other towards the right shoulder. Those balls of energy are flowing down through the arms, through the elbows, through the wrists into the hands. We are going to strengthen our connection now by gravitating to the space 3 feet above our head, coming in contact with the ball of light. Bringing this ball of light through our crown chakra, behind our eyes, bringing this ball of light behind the back of the throat, through the throat, allowing the ball of light to come into contact with the heart space. Allowing this ball of light in your heart space to shine brighter, bigger. Splitting that one ball into two, sending the balls of energy through the left and right shoulder, through the left and right arm, gravitating through the wrists, connecting into the hands. With your eyes closed, now bring your hands together as if you were holding a softball. Next, you're going to bring a stream of light through the crown chakra, straight down into the heart, through the arms, into your hands, charging this ball of energy between the left and right hand. And with each breath, you can increase the momentum of light and energy through your vessel, coming above the crown chakra, through the crown, through the back of the left and right eye, down through the throat into the heart, through the arms flowing through the left and right hand. Let this connection become stronger. Next, choose one area in your body that is calling for nourishment. As you have created this ball of life-giving force between your hands, take this energy now and place this ball of energy into the space in the body in which you have chosen. Take several intentional breaths, pulling that source of light from above your crown chakra into the heart, through your arms, now through your torso, through your hips, through the left and right leg, out through the bottoms of your feet, connecting you deeper into the earth and into your higher self. And when you're ready, please let me know. okay if you feel a little floaty. You're more than welcome to share. Some of us may have experienced that. Some of us could have had a hard time connecting. Maybe you felt it. Maybe you did not. However, you experienced that. Would anybody like to share about their experience in grief? Or are you able to connect to that? Okay. All right. I know for me, and again, I practice this a lot, so by the time I was here, it was just like a magnetic field, kind of like if you put two magnets together, but opposing poles, and they're retracting, or you know, that little force field. That's what I feel. So that is one simple way that you can connect to yourself daily, and that is one technique that I would use on my back. All right, but I would have to put it through my stomach. If I do have a free video training, excuse me, that I can give you, that is actually probably about 20 minutes, so that way you can connect deeper. If you'd like that, please reach out to me again, and I will get it over to you. So we have about 12 minutes. I would like to spend the rest of the time giving a live demonstration. So I'm going to sit here and scan somebody's energy field. I'm going to pick out like the first couple things that your soul is wanting to shift. I'm going to tap in. You may or may not feel me. I'm going to be right here. You're going to be there. And I'm going to work on you simultaneously. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. Does that sound interesting? Mm-hmm. Okay. I think it's interesting. And I'm up for it if you are. So we actually have time for probably 3 people. So who's up for it? I am going to pick a number. I'm picking a number between 1 and 77. Okay. 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 All right. Okay.
75.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. My favorite number is 17. So who's closest?
Like 32 or 33?
So 33 was Kelly. And what is your name, please?
Yesenia. Yesenia.
Yesenia. Why? E-N-I, Y-E-S-E-N-I-A?
And one more?
I think everybody else was kind of high. Okay, what's your name? R-E-N-E. Just one E or 2? Okay. Who wants to go first? Renee? Okay. Because this is public, I'm not going to go like really deep into your information. I'm going to keep it kind of secure. That's just what I honor. So, excuse me. So I close my eyes just because it's helpful for me to see. Excuse me. You may or may not feel sensation when I work on you. If you do, it's fine. Everybody who receives energy work is going to have to drink a lot of water. And sometimes when I do work in groups, everybody's kind of being worked on because there's a higher transmission that's happening. So I want you to be aware of that. So Yeah, so yeah, some of you guys are stepping in for work. It's kind of cute. Renee, I'm going to the back of the right hip. So mostly we're working with your masculine energy in the back of the right heart space. This is going to be man stuff. All right, more romantic type old stuff that's held there. That's the first thing that soul is wanting to shift for you, so you can really internally move forward. Okay. Next is going to be your mental plane. This is around age 12 and 17. Has to do, again, more masculine energy, more it's like how we have to be, right? We get projected onto all of us do. So this is more between that time period that's going to help you in your feminine side really open up to be like even more flowy, more organic, okay, mentally, right? So you guys are going to see me work with my hands. This is how I palpate and access the energy field. When I am done, I'm just going to quickly secure your auric field, expand you so that we're feeling nice and good. And I'm naturally a very protective person, so I'm bringing the element into you. All right. So again, you may or may not feel me. If you would like information to where I am working, yeah, okay. So your right hip is actually leading me into your womb, into your uterus. So when I quickly scan, that's the information that I'll pick up. There we go. All right. So just in short, I'm just working with womb space. Okay. So however you are releasing, good, into the back of the heart and front of the heart. So when I see colors come in, this is the color that's neutralizing or help amplify. So this gets into a little bit of auric field reading. So you just have a lot of like aqua blue light that's coming into your mental plane. You can work with the color violet into the heart space, gold and white into the heart space, violet on the back body, white and gold on the front of the back body. So you would use your breath and visualization here in your womb space, especially on the right side or your masculine side. You're going to be working with like a deep maroon color. There we go, almost done. So I'm really mostly kind of going back to your womb here. So between your sacral and your root chakra. And right into your root. There you go. Yeah. And working the energy in your legs. And that's going to show up more action-based and moving forward for you. This is more in your inner world, and then it's going to show up. So you're going to have some emotional breakthroughs, and then you're going to be able to have more fluid action. Okay, good. And here's your soul plane coming through. So yeah, we all have, that higher connection to self, higher self, and that is really coming through very similar to how we just practiced that light coming through the crown chakra, and that's just really working its way through the center of your energy body, so be aware of that. All right, Renee, I am done. I'm just going quickly. Again, you may or may not feel anything. Everybody experiences this different. So next, Kelly or Yesenia? Yesenia? All right. For you, we're going, okay. You're going straight to age 7. All for you is going to be the heart. That is heart and throat. You're big. The theme here is just releasing family, in short. Okay. More of your extended family. So we're going to go to work with inner child age 7. Okay, into the heart space. So this one I'm not going to communicate too much verbally with you guys. I like to just because it's interesting. So you remember those movie clips I talked about? That's what I'm working with right now. So I'm just working with the emotion that's held, and that's about it. So Yesenia, I'm working on the right side of the heart space. So this is all about heart opening for you. Emotional body. Into the sacral now. Releasing some of mom's energy now. So just for teaching purposes, I'm just going to share this real quick. Many times, men and women both, we can hold our parents in between our heart and our womb space. Men also have a womb space. So when we get deeper into our healing process, we might enter some of these spaces and kick them out when we're ready. So our beautiful friend here, that is at a higher level, that's what she's doing. Go. Oh, good. Now you're just pulling in more of the mental components, so more mental clarity around some of these dynamics. So I'm working around your brow or into the first three layers of your auric field. There you go. And oh, okay. So sometimes when I work with people, I'll see planets. I'll just get like all this information. So sometimes when I see planets, you're going to go look up the planet Saturn and how that pertains to these lessons. So you're going to look up the aspects of Saturn and how that is going to mirror or help you look at some of these lessons in your personal life regarding family. So that's coming through for you to help with healing. You can also look up the sound, maybe play it with the body. YouTube's a great tool. There you go. And there we go. Kelly, you are technically we are at time.
Don't worry.
Okay, I just want to be respectful of everybody's time. Kelly, we are going to go into your knees first. And then knees into the back of the sacrum, into the back of the throat. So for some reason, that's the way your entry points are working. Oh, good. Okay. So for you, the knee thing has to do with boldness, like just being very bold. And this is both masculine and feminine side. Okay. So for you, Kelly, again, so other information will come through, right? Because we're operating on all these different planes that we spoke about. You're working with the angelic realm. So when it comes to boldness for you with your knees or what you're grounding into, this is very more like your outward practical day-to-day life, your structure, like your home, your structure, everything material for you is just wants to shift. So it looks like it's gonna strengthen, essentially. That's what you're working on. And then you're releasing the back, so the back of the sacrum and then into the back of the throat. You're working with the spirit here. So part of your spirit's kind of hovering, kind of hanging out, not really fully integrated. And so it's a strong point for you. So you're just working through the emotional layers and then integrating where your spirit may have been shocked in the past and you're ready to integrate. So just so you guys know, this happens when we experience trauma, pain, whatever, what have you. And just so you know, it's interesting and it's a great tool to learn how to work with your chakras because they're little vortices. So I'm working through the back of her chakra system to pull her spirit through. So it's through the auric field while she's doing the emotional release. And this is all happening very, very fast. I work very, very fast. So in your throat. The release through your throat is actually happening on the left side of the brain, so there just could be some cognitive process that you need to work through in order to realize your potential in the throat. There we go. Water. Okay, the element of water is coming through for you. So you can consciously work with the element of water. And if you did not know this, this is everybody in the room. You can use water as a tool. You can program your water. You can be intentional with your water. You can bless your water. You can use water to fulfill your body. Yeah. Almost done. Sure. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Those of you who received energy work, and if you felt that you were also receiving in some way, everyone's probably going to want to drink extra water. Those of you especially who had energy work today, the energy work's going to keep on running for about 72 hours. It is common if you have emotional release that can show up in anger, crying, feeling a little out of sorts. You can even get fatigued or have a lot of energy. That's normal. I want you to know it's normal. And then usually the manifestation is going to hit in week 1 and week 2 from today. So be aware of that. If you need support, please reach out. Okay? And if you're like, what the heck just happened? Reach out to me. All right. We are at time. Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, especially Michelle, for organizing and bringing our community together. I know I appreciate you, and I'm sure everybody else in here feels the same. Thank you.
And we appreciate you. Does everybody know how to reach you? Do you have any cards to pass out? Any offers you want to share?
I do. Oh, yes, I do. I have it in my slide, but I don't have cards. I primarily utilize social media on my website. Let me see. One way that you can work with me right now, usually I have between 5 and 8 one-on-one sessions available each month, and that's 30 and 60-minute sessions, and that's going to be psychic reading. I don't do medical, and I use my gifts for healing, so areas of self-development. Relationships come in too, but usually I don't want to, I kind of refrain from that. Energy work, and I also offer spiritual coaching. So I'm also a life coach, and we can work around blocks, come up with a plan for you that is in alignment with your soul or in alignment with the higher path. For women especially, I work with your womb. So any held trauma or limitations perceived in the womb space, heart-womb connection is huge for us. Men too. I just specialize in working with women. I have worked actually more with men than women in that area over the last 10 years, but I do offer a special session for women. It's called womb work. You can also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, I offer 3 and 6 month mentorship in the areas of spiritual development. If you are a spiritual entrepreneur, I work with you developing your spiritual business or what is on your heart, your gift, and really showing up in the world exactly as you are, and in relationships as well as sexual healing. So that's what I do. If any of this interests you, again, reach out to me via social media. You can go to thekiraKking.com.
And do notice there is a K between Kira and King.
Yes.
That is easily forgotten by accident.
Kira K. King, thekiraKking.com. But honestly, social media is a great tool. I use social media as a tool. That's where I'm at. That's where I show up mostly. And then hang out with me online too. I give a ton of free resources. And here in a couple of months, I will be offering yin yoga classes. We'll be starting with japa meditation, followed by a yin yoga practice. Yeah, yeah, it's fun. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your walk. Your hike. Yeah.
I'm definitely interested in like the energy work.
Sure.
Information.
Sure.
So
I open right now. Do you? How about this? I'll get your phone number.
Yeah.
And I will reach out to you.
I'll give you my card. Also, so yeah, so I'll give you my card and get a hold of me.
Okay.
Yeah, I am definitely interested in that.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're
Jocelyn.
yeah. Hi, this was amazing. Like, awesome.
Good.
Thank you for today.
Oh yeah, thank you, Joe. Yeah, so I started a product service or a product business on Zoom. So I'm selling all brand designs, clothing for men, women, children, other things, and then I make vaginal wound steams.
I don't know if I know what you're talking about,
It's
but
okay, I'll educate you. It's basically a tool for the woman, for women of all ages to use to cleanse the woman. And I also sell creams, I sell lemonades.
so when you say, so how does that connect?
Right, so I donate a percentage of sales that I get. And then here shortly, I'm probably going to be working with their staff and then going to talk to their youth and more of the people that they work with, because they used to be homeless. And I've met with the founder to inspire them, hey, you apply yourself, you can get yourself out. Do not.
Yeah, and the reason I asked is before I came here, I was working with the homeless too, but I was working with them to get themselves when I was in a healthcare clinic. And we had a healthcare clinic, so the doctors, nurses, and we got together and we provided food because, you know, some of them, and you know, there's doctors there, so some of them had diabetics, and we gave them food. Oh, that's great. So I was looking at, and I'm not from here, so I, you know, welcome, and one of my, and I've been here for a couple of years, and it's really lonely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I live in a person for one person. So I found you that you have, now I don't even tell myself because, you know, I hate to do that, but I want to get involved in this. Start meeting people that, you know, have the same.
I did a class on Thursday.
Mindset, you know, whatever it might be. A lot of the stuff you talked about today was way over my head. Some of it I understood because, you know, manifest, I understand all of that. I think I'm good at it. Because I'm the person that you explained that stops and doesn't like confrontation. And then
We're all like that. Even though all of this is like up there, we live it every single day without realizing.
because I'm really sensitive. And so because I'm sensitive, it's not worth the confrontation. Right down, it builds and builds and builds, and then I'm likable.
Yep.
But I'm not a very nice person, but I'm like that. Yeah. But yet I know I'm really sensitive. It's really weird.
So I also went to school with and like I said, teaching them which is not like
I can't because I'm in my, you know, and what I said is my issue, I'm learning about
yeah,
there's going to be,
yeah. I was walking on the game. I we're in a different
and that's where the fear comes in.
So as far as community, because I'm really starting to get out again in the community, I know that there's a lot of, you know, this
That's really nice. They get connected with me. Or we are connected. Oh, it's like being in somewhere. I mean, the homeless community, yeah, it really does. I mean, some people, I'm thinking of down at that rally in Pueblo. Two homeless guys sat next to me. Some people would just get up and leave.
Yeah,
I can't.
yeah.
And he was totally trash, but I can't, So I talked to him.